Be me, 35, successful litigation attorney. Specialize in employment discrimination cases. Make $280K a year. Corner office. The whole 9 yards. I spent my entire career fighting the patriarchy from within the system. Every case I win is a small victory against centuries of oppression. Today, I'm meeting with a potential client. Some guy claiming he was passed over for promotion due to gender discrimination, already rolling my eyes before he walks in. His name is Jack, mid-40s, dressed in a cheap suit. Probably can't even afford a decent lawyer. He sits down, starts explaining his situation. Worked as a nurse for 15 years at prestigious hospital. Consistently, top performer, excellent reviews. Patients loved him. Applied for nurse manager position 3 times. Each time passed over for women with less experience. He's talking, and I'm barely listening, internally composing my rejection speech. Dude, do you have any idea how ridiculous you sound right now? Men have run everything forever, and you're complaining about one management position. He's showing me documentation, emails, performance reviews. I'm nodding politely, but inside I'm seething. The audacity of this man to claim victimhood. He mentions he's a single father, raises his daughter alone. Okay, cool. You want a medal for doing basic parenting. Women do that while facing actual discrimination. He tells me that during the interview, the panel asked if he could handle the emotional demands of managing staff. Asked if he thought his male communication style would work with the predominantly female nursing staff. One interviewer literally said they were looking to maintain the nurturing culture of the department. I'm thinking, okay, maybe those questions were inappropriate. But context matters. Nursing has been one of the few female-dominated fields. Maybe they're just trying to preserve that. Why does he need to invade every space? I tell him I'll review his case and get back to him. He leaves. I immediately file it in my mental trash bin, call my colleague, we grab lunch. I'm ranting about this guy's entitlement. She's laughing. Agrees it's ridiculous. Men finally get a tiny taste of being excluded, and they lose their minds. We toast to karma. Few days later, Jack calls me. Asks if I've made a decision about his case. I'm busy. Tell my secretary to inform him we're passing. Not a good fit for the firm. He sends an email, thanking me for my time. Says he understands, we'll look elsewhere. His politeness almost makes it worse somehow. Like he expected this. Whatever. I have actual important cases to work on. A few weeks pass. I'm in court for a major sex discrimination case. My client was denied partnership at her accounting firm. Clear case of gender bias. I'm going to destroy them. We're in discovery, going through documents. Opposing counsel brings up some precedent cases. One of them is Jack v. somebody. Wait, what? Some other lawyer took his case and won. Jury awarded him $2.3 million. Hospital's lawyers tried to argue the questions were standard. Jury didn't buy it. Case is now being cited as precedent. I feel sick. That could have been my case. That could have been my win. My commission. But more importantly, this sets a terrible precedent. Now every mediocre man is going to claim discrimination. This is going to be weaponized against women. I'm furious but can't show it in court. We break for lunch and I'm Googling everything about this case. The lawyer who took it is this smug-looking guy. He's giving interviews about how discrimination is discrimination, how gender bias hurts everyone. Oh please, spare me the enlightened centrist take. This is just men's rights activism in a fancy suit. My case proceeds. We win. But I can't enjoy it. I'm too angry about Jack. That evening, I'm at a professional women's networking event. Everyone's talking about the Jack case. Some women are nodding, saying discrimination is wrong. Regardless, I'm arguing that it's not the same thing. Men aren't systematically oppressed. One case doesn't erase centuries of patriarchy. A few women agree with me, but some are looking uncomfortable. One woman, a tax attorney, speaks up. Says her brother faced something similar in elementary education. Says he was told he couldn't teach kindergarten because it didn't look good. I argue that's different. That's about protecting children from predators. She looks at me like I just slapped her. She leaves early. Whatever. Some people can't handle complex discussions about systemic power. Months go by. The Jack case keeps coming up in my work. It's being cited in briefs, used as precedent. I hate it. I hate that I missed it. I hate what it represents. Decide to write an article for a legal journal about how isolated cases of reverse discrimination don't compare to systemic inequality. Spend weeks on it, cite tons of statistics. Submit it to 3 journals. All 3 reject it. 1. Editor sends a personal note. Says, the argument conflates legal standards with sociological trends. Says, courts deal with individual justice, not social movements. I'm livid. This editor is a woman too. Internalized misogyny is real. I post parts of my article on LinkedIn, get into massive arguments in the comments. Some people support me, but many don't. Even some of my female colleagues are pushing back. One comments, discrimination law has to be applied equally or it means nothing. I respond with a long thread about power dynamics. She doesn't reply. I think I won that exchange. Few months later, new case comes across my desk. Woman claiming she was discriminated against in hiring for a warehouse position. Company hired a man instead despite her qualifications. Perfect. Exactly the kind of case I live for. I take it, we prepare. I'm ready to demolish them. Get to discovery. Find out the man they hired was Jack. You have got to be kidding me. After winning his lawsuit, he changed careers. Used his settlement money to go back to school for logistics management. Got hired at this warehouse company. My client applied for the same entry-level management training program. She has a college degree, he doesn't. She has warehouse experience from a summer job, he doesn't. But he has that discrimination case win on his resume. He has nursing management experience, even if he never got the title. He interviewed well, apparently. I'm reading the deposition transcripts. Jack is calm, professional, explains his qualifications clearly, talks about managing patient care, coordinating with staff, handling emergencies, all transferable skills. Company's hiring manager says it was a close call, but Jack's experience in a high-stress healthcare environment was the deciding factor. His settlement isn't mentioned as a factor at all. I'm trying to build a case that they favored him because he was a man, but the evidence isn't there. If anything, his resume is more impressive now. I'm interviewing my client, trying to find an angle. She's talking about how unfair it is, how she deserves it more because she has the degree, how Jack is just another man taking opportunities from women. And I'm nodding, agreeing, pumping her up. But there's this tiny voice in my head. This is exactly what Jack said about the nursing position. Shut up, brain. It's not the same. Except the evidence in this case is even weaker than what Jack had. His case had literal smoking gun questions about his gender. This case has nothing. Just a hiring decision that could go either way. I'm grasping at straws, looking for any email, any comment, anything suggesting bias. There's nothing. Company's defense attorney is, of course, that smug bastard who took Jack's case. We have our first meeting. He's insufferably polite. Treats me with complete professional respect, which somehow makes me angrier. He lays out his defense calmly, points out that his client followed all proper hiring procedures, interviewed multiple candidates, made decision based on qualifications, offers me a chance to review all their documentation. I'm looking for the gotcha, the trap. There isn't one. He's just being straightforward. I realize this case is going nowhere, but I can't tell my client that. She's counting on me. More importantly, I can't let him win again. Can't let Jack win again. We proceed toward trial. My client is convinced we're going to win. I'm working 18-hour days trying to build something from nothing. My other cases are suffering. Partners are asking questions. I tell them this is important, this is about principle. One partner says, maybe we should consider the strength of the case. I snap at him that he wouldn't understand. He's a man. Of course, he's not going to see the importance. He walks away, shaking his head. Week before trial, the defense attorney offers to meet for coffee. I assume it's to discuss settlement. Fine. Let's hear his lowball offer. We meet, he orders. Tea, I order black coffee. He starts talking about how he respects my work, says he's followed my career, admires my wins. I'm waiting for the but. He says he wanted to talk to me off the record, about why I turned down Jack's case. I freeze. How does he know that? Jack told him, of course. I say it wasn't a good fit for the firm. He nods slowly. Asks if I've ever turned down a case because the client was a woman. I say that's different. I specialize in helping women. He asks how that's different from a lawyer who specializes in helping men. I say because women face systemic discrimination. He says that's a sociological observation, not a legal standard. Courts deal with individuals. Individual justice, not group justice. I argue that you can't separate individual cases from systemic context. He says that's exactly what the law requires us to do. Says a good lawyer represents the case, not the cause. I tell him my cases are my cause. He says that's advocacy, not justice. I'm getting heated, voice rising. People in the coffee shop are looking. He remains calm. Says he's not trying to upset me, just wanted to understand my perspective. Then he says something that makes my blood boil. Says Jack asked him to reach out to me, wanted to make sure there were no hard feelings, wanted me to know he understood why I turned him down. The condescension, the paternalistic assumption that I need his understanding. I tell him I don't need Jack's forgiveness. He says it's not forgiveness, it's empathy. Jack knows what it's like when your pain doesn't matter because of your identity. He thought maybe I'd learn from that. I stand up, tell him this meeting is over. He stays seated, says the settlement offer is on the table. My client drops the case. No admission of wrongdoing. Each side pays own costs. I say we'll see him in court. I leave. Spend the whole drive back to office shaking with rage. Who the hell does Jack think he is? And this guy with his fortune cookie wisdom, I'm going to destroy them in court. Trial preparation intensifies. My opening statement is fire. Talk about how women have fought for every scrap of equality, how we can't let that progress be eroded. My associate reads it and looks concerned. Says maybe we should focus more on the specific facts. I tell her I know what I'm doing. The day of trial arrives. I'm ready. I'm wearing my power suit, my good heels. Armor on. We go through jury selection. I'm striking men left and right with my peremptory challenges. Defense doesn't object, just watches. We end up with a jury that's mostly women. Perfect. Trial begins. My opening statement goes, well, I think. Jury is listening. Some are nodding. Defense opening is boring and procedural. Just talks about facts and processes. No passion. Good. He's putting them to sleep. We present our case. My client testifies. She's sympathetic. Talks about how hard she's worked. How disappointed she was. Cross-examination. Defense is gentle. Asks her about her qualifications. Asks if she thinks she was the most qualified. She says yes. He asks if she reviewed the other candidates' materials. She says no, but she knows she was qualified. He asks how she knows she was most qualified then. She stammers. Says she just knows. He thanks her. No further questions. Didn't even rough her up. I'm suspicious. We call the hiring manager. I grill him about his decision-making process. He stays calm, explains everything. I ask why he didn't hire my client. He says Jack had more relevant management experience. I pounce. Ask him to explain how nursing relates to warehouse logistics. He patiently explains crisis management, team coordination, resource allocation, all applicable. I ask if he was influenced by Jack being a man. He says no. I ask if he's aware more men work in warehouses than women. He says yes. I ask if he's trying to maintain that. Objection. Speculation. Sustained. I'm frustrated but continue. Defense cross is again simple. Just reinforces the qualifications question. We call an expert on gender discrimination in hiring. She testifies about patterns and statistics. Defense objects to relevance. Judge allows it, but instructs jury, this is background context only. They must decide based on this specific case. Defense calls his witnesses. Jack takes the stand. I've been waiting for this. He's calm, collected, answers questions about his background, talks about his nursing career, his lawsuit, his career change, talks about how hard he worked to transition fields, admits he doesn't have a traditional background for logistics, but says he brought other valuable skills. Defense yields for cross. I stand up. This is my moment. I ask Jack if he thinks he was the most qualified candidate. He says he doesn't know, he only saw his own application. I ask him to compare his qualifications to my client's. He says she had certain advantages, like formal education. He had others like management experience. I ask if he thinks his being a man helped him get the job. He says he hopes not. Says he knows what gender discrimination feels like. He wouldn't want anyone to experience it. I ask him if he really thinks his experience as a nurse compares to centuries of discrimination against women. Objection. Relevance. Sustained. Judge tells me to focus on the case at hand. I'm flustered. Ask Jack if he felt entitled to the nursing promotion. He says he felt qualified for it. I ask if he feels entitled to take jobs from women. Objection. Argumentative. Sustained. Judge warns me. I ask if Jack believes in affirmative action. Objection. Relevance. Sustained. I'm running out of questions. Everything I ask, Jack answers calmly and reasonably. He's not getting defensive, not getting angry, just answering. I try a new approach. Ask him how his daughter would feel, knowing he took a job from a woman. Defense jumps up. Objection. Judge sustains and calls sidebar. I approach the bench. Judge is pissed. Asks what that question has to do with anything. I argue it goes to his credibility and mindset. Judge says, that's nonsense. Warns me again. One more stunt and I'll face sanctions. I return to Jack. Ask if he has any other questions. If he has anything else to say. I'm rattled. He says he's sorry. My client didn't get the job. Says he hopes she finds a good opportunity. It seems genuine. I dismiss him. I hate him more for being nice. The rest of trial is a blur. Closing arguments. I give everything I have. Talk about the importance of protecting women's progress. How we must be vigilant against backsliding. Jury is listening, but I can't read them. Defense closing is again just facts. Talks about the burden of proof. Says sympathy isn't evidence. Says wanting something doesn't mean you were discriminated against. Jury deliberates for 6 hours. They come back. Verdict for the defense. My client bursts into tears. I'm numb. We lost. Judge thanks the jury, dismisses them. Defense starts packing his briefcase. Jack pats him on the shoulder. They exchange a few words. Jack walks past me, on his way out. Stops. Says thank you for fighting for what you believe in. Says, I mean that sincerely. Says, I hope someday you'll fight for everyone. Walks out. I'm standing there, those words echoing. My client is asking me what happens next. Can we appeal? I tell her, we can discuss options. But I know there's no grounds for appeal. We just lost. Defense approaches. Extends his hand. Says good trial. I don't take it. He withdraws his hand, nods, leaves. I help my client through the aftermath. She's devastated. Asks how this could happen. Says the system is rigged. I'm agreeing with her, but the words feel hollow. Later that night, I'm alone in my office. Partners want a meeting tomorrow about the case, about my performance, about the billable hours I wasted. I'm looking at the trial transcripts, reading Jack's testimony again. He never claimed to be a victim, never said he had it worse than anyone, just said he was qualified and deserved fair consideration. That's literally it. Same thing, my client said. Same thing all my clients say. I'm thinking about the defense attorney's words at the coffee shop, about individual justice versus group justice, about representing the case, not the cause. I always thought those were the same thing, that every case was part of the larger fight. But what if some cases are just cases? What if Jack was just someone who got discriminated against? And I turned him away because his discrimination didn't fit my narrative. I start pulling files, looking at all the cases I've turned down over the years. There are dozens. Men claiming discrimination, mostly, but also women whose claims seemed weak or didn't fit the pattern I was looking for. I only wanted the clear-cut cases, the ones that proved my point. I'm remembering Jack in my office that first day, how he had documentation, evidence, a strong case, and I dismissed him immediately. Didn't even really listen, because he was a man. That realization hits me like a truck. I discriminated against him, the thing I claimed to fight against. I did it. I judged him based on his gender, not his case. Assumed he couldn't be a victim because of his identity. Exactly what happened to him at the hospital. Exactly what I fight against in my cases. Oh God, I feel sick. I'm spiraling now. Thinking about every argument I've made, every time I've dismissed someone's experience, every time I've said, that's different. Maybe it wasn't different. Maybe pain is pain. Maybe discrimination is discrimination, regardless of who experiences it. But no, that can't be right. Women have been oppressed for centuries. That has to matter, doesn't it? But Jack never denied that. He just said he also experienced discrimination. Both things can be true. I'm exhausted. Emotionally, intellectually, physically exhausted. I think about calling someone. My colleague, maybe. But I know what she'll say. She'll reassure me that we're right, that the jury was wrong, that Jack and his lawyer are just MRAs in disguise. But I don't believe that anymore. I saw Jack on the stand. He wasn't angry or entitled. He was just honest. He experienced discrimination and wanted it addressed. Same as any of my clients. I'm sitting in my dark office at 2 a.m., looking at my diplomas on the wall, my awards, all the cases I've won, and I'm wondering if I've been fighting for justice, or just for my side. Next morning, meeting with the partners. They're not happy. Wasted resources, weak case, warning from the judge. Bad look for the firm. I'm barely listening. They're talking about being more selective with cases, doing better cost-benefit analysis. One partner says, maybe I should take some time. Step back, refocus. I ask if I'm being fired. He says no, of course not. Just suggesting a sabbatical. I say, I'll think about it. Meeting ends. I go back to my office. There's an email from Jack. My heart stops. Subject line. Thank you. I'm afraid to open it. But I do. It's short. I wanted to thank you for representing people who face discrimination. My case taught me how isolating it feels when people don't believe you. That's why your work matters, even when we disagree about who deserves that protection. I hope you'll consider that everyone's pain is valid, even if the systems that create that pain are different. Wishing you well, Jack. I read it 5 times. He's thanking me. After I rejected him. After I fought against him in court. After everything. He's still trying to reach me. Trying to help me understand. And the worst part is, I do understand. I finally understand. I turned him away when he needed help. Not because his case was weak, but because I decided his pain didn't matter. Because of his gender. The exact thing I claimed to fight against. I rest my head on my desk. I don't cry. I'm too tired to cry. I just sit there, paralyzed. Completely paralyzed. Not by anger or righteousness, but by the realization that I became what I thought I was fighting. That in my quest to help the oppressed, I oppressed someone else, dismissed their pain, invalidated their experience, because it didn't fit my worldview. My phone buzzes. It's my colleague asking if I want lunch. I don't respond. I can't face her right now. Can't face anyone. Can't face myself. I think about responding to Jack's email. But what would I even say? Sorry I judged you based on your gender. Sorry, I assumed your pain didn't matter. Sorry I did to you exactly what you were complaining about. Any apology feels insufficient, feels self-serving. I close my laptop, look out my window at the city. All those people down there, all with their own struggles, their own pain. And I've spent my career deciding whose pain counts, whose experience is valid, based on demographics, based on theory, based on everything except the actual individual in front of me. The defense attorney was right. Individual justice, not group justice. The law is supposed to treat people as individuals. That's the whole point. And I've been trying to use it as a weapon in a culture war. I pull up Jack's original case file, the one I rejected. Read through it again. It's airtight. He had everything. Documentation, witnesses, clear, discriminatory questions. Any lawyer would have taken this, except me, because I was so sure I knew better. So sure that his type of discrimination didn't exist, or didn't matter, or was somehow justified. I think about all my victories, all the women I've helped. Were those victories less meaningful now? No. Those women faced real discrimination. Their pain was valid, but so was Jack's. Both things are true. That's what I couldn't accept. That both things could be true. I wanted a simple narrative. Oppressor and oppressed. Good and evil. But reality is messier than that. Systems of oppression exist, and individuals within those systems still deserve fairness. Those ideas aren't contradictory. I made them contradictory. Sitting here in my expensive office with my expensive degree, making more money than most people will see in a lifetime, I claimed to speak for the oppressed, while oppressing anyone who didn't fit my template. The irony would be funny if it wasn't so devastating. My secretary knocks, asks if I'm okay. I wave her away. I'm not okay. I don't know if I'll be okay. I don't know how to reconcile this. I don't know how to move forward. Everything I thought I knew feels wrong. But I can't just flip everything either. Systemic inequality is real. Women do face discrimination. That hasn't changed. But maybe my approach was wrong. Maybe I was fighting so hard I couldn't see clearly anymore. Couldn't see people. Only categories. Couldn't hear pain unless it came from the right source. I finally respond to Jack's email. Just 2 words. You're right. Send it before I can overthink. He doesn't respond. Why would he? I sit there the rest of the day, not working, not doing anything, just thinking. About every case, every argument, every time I was so sure I was right. The sun sets. Office empties. I'm still at my desk, paralyzed by the realization that being right about systems doesn't mean you're right about people, and that sometimes the thing you're fighting against is exactly what you've become.